The Hand of Creation, a talent with no known origins and only one bearer that was believed to be given directly from God. Hey guys, it's Jay here with another Ordeal video. In the live Q&A I put out a few weeks ago, a question was asked regarding the Hand of Creation talent and if it will ever reappear. Brent's answer to this was simply no, and I want to help understand why that is the case. So as the title implies, I'm going to be explaining why the Hand of Creation talent won't ever reappear. Before I get into it, I'd like to ask if you enjoy the video, leave a like and share it with others. Without further ado, on to the vid. To start, I want to explain who had the talent and how it works. The only known user of the Hand of Creation talent is Mae Ross, who after marrying Sabito becomes Mae Hart. We can assume Mae has had this talent from birth, as by the time she meets Sabito, she already possesses it. We are also told by Major Jamie Altham Thomas in episode 69 that it is believed that the talent was given to her directly from the hand of God himself. This makes sense for a point I will make later, but also because Jamie also says that the talent of creation doesn't have any existing lineage. We can assume that Mae's records are on Code's moon base, but that no other Kimyo with her talent is recorded there. Now we can move on to how the talent itself works. The Hand of Creation is a creation and power type talent, and grant a talent to a human or remove a talent from a Kimyo. When a talent is granted to a human, all the chi necessary is provided as well. Said talent will also reflect the user's heart, as the heart will reflect the person's truest intentions. When a talent is removed from a Kimyo, the talent itself is sent to the ether, a place where talents may reside. The removal of a talent also results in the death of said Kimyo, as a talent is connected to an individual's soul, so removing it removes its soul as well. The nature of this talent results in the user producing a large amount of chi, which allows it to be discharged in a specific direction, increasing impact through touch or range. Now that we know the functionality of the talent, we can now get into why the talent won't ever re-emerge. For this, we have to understand why Mae was given the talent to begin with. In my opinion, it's very reasonable to assume Mae was given her talent so she could use it on a newborn Shay, so that instead of being the bearer of the Thanatos talent, he can grow up to fight and oppose it. This idea is backed up by what Mahalalel says in episode 83. He tells Shay that Mae changed the course of human history, as that is the power God gave her, and that she has given them the advantage they so direly needed. He also says Shay is the one chosen to stop him, that being Thanatos once and for all. Shay himself was born to two of the greatest Kimyos to ever exist, which is why it's possible for him to be born as a Thanatos vessel, as Aldrich alludes to a strong body being necessary for the birth of the Thanatos talent. And although the talent was taken from him, the stronger body it provides is still a part of God's plan, as it, along with Ilios, is what will help Shay reach the level of Thanatos. And this thought is backed up by Mahalalel telling Shay in episode 83 that his limits now surpass that of himself when he was flesh. This shows that God gave Mae her talent with the clear intentions of her using it on a newborn Shay, as that was a critical moment in time, as Shay is a part of God's plan to defeat Thanatos. This also ties into them being given the advantage they needed, as they were clearly shown who would end up being the next vessel for Thanatos, and stopped it before he had the chance to grow in power by cutting it off at the source, as opposed to them finding out later on that Vial already has the next vessel in his possession and is cultivating his strength. However, this is not where God's purpose ends, as we can also link the reason for Mae being given her talent to the reason Ian has Migdal-El. Before we get into Migdal-El and Ian directly, we have to quickly look at what the life serum is and how it came to be. The life serum is a vial composed of Mae's very spinal fluid. This fluid contains the power of her talent. The serum only has one use, and if used on a Kimyo, it will take their talent, resulting in said Kimyo's death. But if the serum is used on a human, it will grant them a talent that reflects their heart. We are told by Aldrich Ross in episode 109 that his father made sure Mae's spinal fluid was stored in case she was ever taken from Code. This same serum was used by Ian Anthony Hoff in episode 111, with him being granted the Migdal-El talent as a result of its use. Migdal-El himself tells Ian that since the beginning of time, God had predestined and chosen this moment, that his call was heard, he was sent to aid him. As a result of this, Ian is able to protect the people around him by scaring off two Gaki. This shows that not only did God predetermine Mae's purpose as well as Shay's, but Ian's as well, as without God using Mae, Shay wouldn't have been born as a Thanatos vessel, resulting in that power being born in someone else, nor would anyone have the potential Shay has to defeat Thanatos. And without Mae's spinal fluid, Inspector Ian would have remained human and never have been granted Migdal-El. These are the very reasons why Mae's talent has to appear with her during her lifetime, and why it hadn't existed at any point before her lifetime. Since I underlined the reason why Mei was given her talent to begin with, I want to explain where a talent may go when a Kimyo dies, and the difference in where Mei's talent went. Since talents are connected to souls, one would assume they go to a sort of afterlife. This idea is not far-fetched at all, since the term ether was used by Aldrich Ross in episode 109. The term ether has varying definitions, but none of which reflect how it's actually being used. Ross uses the term ether to refer to a sort of subspace or alternate plane of existence that talents may reside in. He specifically says, think of it like the Thanatos talent is roaming the ether, waiting for a body to be born strong enough to bear it before it returns. This can imply that the Thanatos talent, among other talents that naturally reappear, such as Kong, temporarily exists in this alternate plane of existence. This could also be where God chooses to place talents that have no bearer, as we don't know where talents that haven't been passed on go when their bearer dies. It can be guessed that talents may die with their user, as Hisame was willing to accompany Sabito to the grave, and Sabito's response is that he must live on, potentially implying that Hisame may not have reappeared after that. A statement from Mei in the same episode, which is 74, also reinforces this idea, but in regards to Mei and the Hand of Creation talent, this is definitely the case. As I pointed out, God had a clear purpose for Mei's talent that was fulfilled, so there's no reason for it to be potentially roaming around in the ether waiting to reappear. You also have to keep in mind that it is believed by the characters in the story that God gave Mei her talent directly. We could take this in a literal sense, considering Brent has said Jesus himself made Kimyos, which means God gave Mei a direct part of his power, with that being to make Kimyos. And when Mei died, unlike other talents that may go to the ether, the Hand of Creation talent died with her. But even more than that, it also returned directly back to God, which is why the talent won't reappear, as it is a talent that is connected directly to God. And since he gave this power to someone who fulfilled his desires for it, there's no need for him to give it to someone else. Now that we know why Mei's talent won't reappear, let's look at why it returning would be bad for the story. Now when I say this is not an attack, because I love the story and all of its contents, but bringing the Hand of Creation talent would simply be bad writing. In Brent's own words during the Q&A, he said that would start Ordeal all over again, meaning that if the talent were to reappear, it would cause the very same forces of evil to seek it, resulting in another conflict that the life and death box's existence caused. It would be bad on Brent as a writer if he used the same situation a third time as a reason for conflict, as it would make the situation one of the prime reasons for there to be conflict in the story. And we can give Brent credit for writing a story that isn't as plain and simple as to need to repeat the same scenario too many times. For clarity's sake, the first situation is Mei's very existence, which resulted in Veil tracking her and Sabito down, which led to him fighting Veil's army. And the second situation is the Battle of Greenland, where the life and death boxes are what is being fought over. Also, imagine how bad it would be for the characters in the series if the villains succeeded in having a source that could give them an infinite number of talents, ultimately helping their goal of a pure Kimyo bloodline. So, to recap, Mei is the only Kimyo to ever possess the Hand of Creation talent, as it is believed to be given to her directly by God. The talent has the power to take a Kimyo's talent, or give a talent to a human. God's purpose for giving Mei her talent revolves around Shay's birth and Ian's use of the life serum, with the reason for it being used on Shay is so that he may live on, not as a Thanatos vessel, but as the Ilios vessel in the fight against Thanatos. And the reason for Mei's spinal fluid being needed is so that it may eventually be used by Inspector Ian to grant him the Migdal El talent. It is unknown where talents go after a Kimyo dies, but some may find themselves in an ether, a potential alternate plane of existence that talents reside in. Others may simply die with their user, never to be seen again. In Mei's case, the latter is true, but is extended further as it died with her and returned to God. The talent returning would simply be a bad writing move, as in Brent's words, it would start Ordeal all over again, meaning the antagonist of the story would simply look for the new user and force them to give their forces talents. The talent itself was already used as the reason for conflict in two separate ways, and fulfilled both of its purposes before Mei died, so there's no reason for it to return. If you have any questions, or feel like I missed anything, leave them in the comments, and I will see y'all in the next one.